What if I told you that one of the greatest dirt bikers ever is for the most part an unknown, because his legacy lives in places where no one goes? His name is Kailub Russell. After winning 8 straight off-road championships, he retired in 2020, and for the last 4 years has trained racers at his ranch for the KTM group. But then recently something changed, and out of the blue, Kailub announced he was going back to racing. So cameras were sent to the outskirts of Boonville, North Carolina, to find out why. So I want you to grab that slate and put it just below your chin and pick up the little clapper and just say Kailub Russell interview, take 1.
Kailub Russell interview, take 1.
Haven't you done enough in this sport?
Absolutely. I've done more than enough. Yeah.
Well, if you've done enough, then why do you have to do more?
Life doesn't stop. It keeps going. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the process of getting better, the competition, competing, and racing to win. You know, that's what motivates me, is when you're in a fight, championship battle, race win. The feeling that you get from that, it's irreplaceable. I've been trying to find other avenues to replace that feeling, and yeah, there's just nothing out there. So I want to chase that feeling. It's an addiction. You know, winning is an addiction. You know, racing, the lifestyle, I missed it. It's what I like.
I think the sport's missed you. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely I've been to all the races since then, but yeah, it feels different. It feels different. It doesn't feel as homey, you know, with me not racing. That's my personal feeling. Like, I don't go to the races that excited to go anymore. It's like, shit, got to travel to go to another race to cheer on guys that I'm trying to help. But it's, like I said, I'm trying to replace that feeling of competing, and was trying to build the next me, but you can't build the next me. It's impossible.
Why take the risk? This is a dangerous sport. You have a great life, beautiful family. Why go back and put yourself in harm's way when you can do anything else you want with your life? Anything you want. Why go back?
I like to think of life is risky. Every day we wake up, every day we wake up, we're taking a risk to live. It's no different than, obviously, maybe the risks are higher as far as racing and riding all the time, but you know, we take a risk every time we get in our car to go in town. So my perspective on risk versus reward and life in general is life's a risk. You know, we live one life and that's it. It might as well be spent doing something you really enjoy, you love doing, and you have a passion for. My passion lies with racing and competing. So I see no risk of going back, you know. I probably will get hurt. I'm not scared of getting hurt. I'm not scared of dying. It's a part of life. Everybody's gonna die. So when it's your time to go, it's your time to go.
Your legacy, though, 8 championships, you're gonna take how many years off, go back and try and build off of that? odds are that you're not going to get back to where you were.
Yeah, I know the phrase comebacks never work. You know, that's more of a risk than racing in itself to me. That's higher on the the risk of failure. If you don't try, you'll never know. You know, there's people that spend their whole lives scared of whatever it may be, and they never take any sort of risk to see what could be. Yeah, my legacy as far as 8 championships, that's in the past. We're in the present, and we'll see what the future holds. Time will tell, and yeah, it's a chance for sure. It's a bet. I always bet on me, though.
Why do you bet on yourself? Because there's been plenty of successful athletes that have gone away for a handful of years. They miss that competition. They realize that that's who they are. They're a racer. They want to go back in the hurt locker. They miss that pain. They miss that challenge. They miss that passion that they had, the people relying on you, the pressure, the expectations. But it doesn't work out for these guys. How are you going to be different?
I'm not so sure that's... the only thing I can control is me and what I'm doing, my thought process, my riding. And I know how to do the job. I'm not saying that it's gonna work out. Who knows? But, 15 years ago when I started this, there was a chance it wasn't gonna work out either. Another risk. It's a different perspective now, because 15 years ago when I was on the Win to Eat program, I was either make it or go get a job. Obviously now the aspect is different, but the mindset is still the same. It's, Win to Eat is how I've always felt. That's why still even coming back, my deal with Yamaha is win only. So that's enough right there to make somebody hungry.
If you win, you get paid?
Yeah, if you win, you make money. Obviously, bonus wise. If I don't win, there's no money. There's no bonus. So I like that structure too, because when you're actually in the race, and these are 3-hour endurance races. So when you're in the race and you have that feeling, well, it's going somewhat okay. You're third, fourth, right in that area where it starts to get hard. 2 hours in, you're going to get paid for second or third. You're like, I can settle for that today. That's not me. I don't settle. I go until the checker flag. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I don't want my focus to be on settling, ever. Like life in general, you only get to live once, so go as hard as you can until you get every last drop.
Is that for yourself, or is that something that you want your children to see?
That's for me. That's what motivates me and makes me strive and not to settle. Because I'm gonna be in that place. I know this already. I've felt it. I've been there. I know how it works. I know how the mind wants to control your body. So when it gets really hard and you're gonna get paid for third place, you're gonna be like, okay, I'll be okay with this today. No, I don't ever want to feel like I'm okay with anything. And I don't want this to come off egotistical either, but this is what makes me always strive to be my best in the pursuit of the goal of winning. I don't want to be able to just settle for second best or being good. You know, you want to be great. That's what I want out of life.
Have you ever mailed it in? Has there ever been a time where you knew that you could have pushed harder, you could have gained another position, you could have taken the victory, but you decided that second was good enough for today? Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's it's human nature, right? You know, the easy path. I used to be a quitter my whole life, I would say. Not my whole life now. I used to be a quitter when I was younger. You know, always finding the easy way, the shortcut, make things easier, you know, skate by here, skate by there, and not facing the problem or the task at hand with the intent of, you know, this is going to be hard. Let's just get through it. I would always try to veer and find the easy road, the easy path. And in life, there are no easy roads and easy paths. It's trials and tribulations. And yeah, I just face that shit head on now, you know?
Well, you said you used to be a quitter and then you became a win at all costs. What changed?
I don't know. Fed up with my own shit, I guess, you know? I think there's a point in time where I like to say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I'm sure lots of people have heard that quote. And I think I heard that quote and it kind of like, you know, that interpreted with other aspects of my life at the time of, like I said, having to win to eat, or, you know, I better make it happen. You know, once I got going, I just got on a roll and I built this strong mental capacity and man, it's really stuck with me from probably being about 20 years old, I'd say. Yeah. From 20 to 23 is when it really kind of kicked in. And I got to the next mental level, over the next mental hurdle. And then I just kept checking boxes and just become more mentally tough. And I like JB Money. He's a bull rider. I like his quote. You're only as tough as you tell yourself you are. So when I'm hurt, doesn't matter. I can get through it. I'll figure it out. Make it happen.
This is a young man's game. How old are you?
I'll be 35 at the start of the next season.
Do you feel 35?
Yes and no. Mentally, I feel like I'm still early 20s. You know, I still have that attitude where I do things I know I probably shouldn't because the chance of hitting the ground is there. But I would say, you know, when I do hit the ground now, I don't bounce quite as well. I kind of thud a little bit harder now. So, but I have a few past old injuries that I'm gonna have to be mindful of for sure. But it's all things that I know how to deal with and how to mitigate. And yeah, they've made me tough. Just continuing with the injuries that I do have, they've been a part of that mental toughness journey. Is, you know, I know I can get through it, know how to use it. I know what it's going to feel like when it does start to hurt. So I live in pain pretty much every day. So it's nothing new.
You have these young 20-something-year-olds that you're going to try to beat. You have past injuries. You have naysayers. You have expectations from your team, the industry, your close circle. And you have your entire legacy being tainted, destroyed, because when you went out and you retired, you went out a champion. Does any what I've just said scare you?
Yeah, it is. Everything can scare you a little bit. But I'd rather try and fail than live a life of regret of not trying. This is what I want. This is my decision. I want to compete. I know I'm getting old, but I'm still able to do it. And I can feel like I haven't changed that much. I know it's going to be a lot of work. It's always been a lot of work. I'm not worried about that. And I'm not worried about anything. Because the only things that I worry about, it goes back to one of the other questions you asked is, I can control only me. So that's what I'm going to do. I know how to do that. I'm going to be in the best shape that I can possibly be in. I'm as ready as I possibly can be. And I'm going to try to execute on my plan. And if I lose, then somebody's better than me, and that's okay. That's life. There's always going to be the next guy that's better. That's evolution. And yeah, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. Go wheelie.
Right there.
Where?
Right there.
Where
Right
is?
there.
I don't see it.
Right there. Right here.
Did you miss it? Did you miss watching him race?
I did. I'm not ready for the race day jitters. But yeah, I did. I think I missed the Sundays. They're just not the same. It's not. No one has had that like dominance or stand out year, like Kailub. What comes with Kailub?
But why did you miss watching him race? What is it about watching him race that you enjoyed?
I just like watching him ride, watching him. I mean, there's no one does it like him. I mean, really, I don't know what else to say, because it's just like when he was riding with the kids the other day, I'm just like, I don't understand how someone can do that on a dirt bike through the woods, and because I don't know anything about dirt bikes at all. So I'm just like, it's an art, I guess.
Before you signed this contract, before you said, I'm going back, I have to go back and race, just establish your normal life, whatever it is. Just tell me about that.
So after I retired, actually, I'm going to have to back up a little bit prior and kind of piece it all together so it makes sense. This will be a better interpretation. So before I retired in 2020, I had a sit-down meeting with John Hines and my boss at the time, Auntie Collinen. And, I explained to him that, I was ready to be done racing and call it a career. with the aspirations. I really wanted to race motocross for a year, and they made that happen. They were awesome to make that happen. But I broke my jaw right before the season started, and it was a complete disaster. So, but during that meeting, they were asking, "Well, Caleb, what is the next phase in life? What are you going to what are you going to do next?" And at the time, I just bought this place here that we're sitting at, and I was going to create the first off-road specific training facility for the general public and the masses. Was my thought process and what I was going to go into next, my next phase in life, my next job. And I remember John asking me, he was like, "Well, whatever you do, we want to be a part of it." And I was like, "Okay, that's awesome." And yes, so that's how Ranch Russell came about, along with KTM. And I do the exact same thing that Alden Baker does, but for the off-road teams in general. And like I said, I didn't go to KTM with that idea. They actually, gratefully enough, like they offered that title and that program to me. And I naturally, I took it because, I like working with it's almost like being a racer again, but, trying to help other guys be at the top of the sport. That's where you want to be. Like, it's great to help, guys learn how to ride and do things like that. But to work with the guys at the very top is what's most exciting, I would say. So there's been 3 years of that, and over those 3 years, we've done some really cool things. I've helped guys win championships and, brought guys up that were struggling, I do feel like, and made some guys probably better than they probably ever would have been, I do feel like. So, but this day and age and the way it's going, and I think it's just a little ahead of its time, possibly, and I just generally wasn't super happy with what I was doing. And yeah, like I said, I think in time I'll probably realize the mistakes I made along the way and things I could have adjusted to maybe continue in a different mindset with the program. But I feel like I kept trying to build the next me, and my expectations were maybe a little too much for some of the guys. And yeah, I was just generally getting unmotivated and not real happy with just what I was doing in life. I think, happiness is a funny thing because it's what we tell ourselves happiness is. It's not something that you can go buy or acquire. Happiness it comes from doing and really enjoying what you're doing and who you're around. And I was just at a point in time where I felt like a change was needed, and there was no opportunity to come back and actually race for KTM without the training deal included in it. And that would be impossible to train riders and race against those riders. So, which I understand, they have their lineup and their next guys in line that they have on the roster. So that's no hard feelings. And like I said, I think it was time for a change in my life anyways. I think without change, we don't grow. And without growth, there's no renewed happiness.
Perfect. So you said, I'm going to go back racing. The roster's full at KTM. I won 8 championships for this brand. This brand has been great. You developed a motorcycle and you know, their KTM and off-road are synonymous. KTM wins championships off-road. You were a big part of that here in the United States. Did you mention to them that you wanted to come back racing? And did they have to turn you down?
Yeah, there was several conversations, and the conversation as far as me racing again was in my interpretation of they don't have that value for me currently. And which is, like I said, is I understand, I get it. You know, I made my bed with when I retired, and I could have kept racing. I had another 4-year deal that I could have signed year by year up until this current year. And I declined that and said I was going to retire. So that contract was annulled, and I developed Ranch Russell, and they invested in my business, and that's where their value is. Keeping Ranch Russell intact to house their factory, all their factory off-road riders. So for them to come back and without Ranch Russell still being involved with their factory riders wasn't an option. And I just can't juggle 2 jobs at one time, you know. When he offered me to ride, I kind of chuckled. I was like, no, I don't think you're taking me seriously. Like, I want to come back and race, not race for fun. I want to be the guy. I'm not their guy anymore.
So you went shopping.
We did. Luckily, I'm very lucky. I'll say that. But I do think, like RC says, that I feel like it's, you make your own luck a lot of times. And I am very grateful that I have done as well as I have in this sport, and I am as respected as I am. So when I got in touch with Yamaha, with Steve Nessel, and asked him if he was interested in any sort of possibility of having me on, he was very interested, and it kind of developed into what it is now. And like I said, I was leaving the offers that I had with KTM, had tons of job security. You know, and probably a little more upside to it, to be honest with you. But like I said, I wasn't super happy. I was I think I was scared. Because I don't want to waste these next 3 to 4 years of my prime 30s regretting that I never came back to try, because, like I said, racing is my passion and what I've been happiest doing. And I miss that feeling. And man, it's nothing can replace it. So it's time to make a change and take some risk along the way. I'm fine with that because I'm in control.
Let me get this straight. The job security that you had being the best to do it in enduro in the United States, maybe there's guys in Europe that are better. You may be the best guy in the world. You may be the most successful off-road racer of all time. Maybe you are. I don't know enough about it. Can we just say you are? Are you one of them?
I would say if I am not, I am in the top 3
What other names
because
are there?
I don't know.
Name 2 other guys.
You know, off-road is so broad because that falls into the category of, you know, Dakar and World Enduro Championship, and there's several cross-country series throughout the US and Canada and Europe, and so off-road it's not as black and white and cut and dry as Supercross and motocross or MXGP, you know. If you're not on one of those 3 platforms in motocross or supercross, then you're not the best. So, but there's so many off-road platforms that are very high level. But yeah, to me, that doesn't matter. Doesn't hold a whole lot of value. I didn't start out racing to be the greatest. I started out because I loved it. I just become the greatest at what I love to do. And I just have that competitor in me that never say die attitude.
You said you're in the top 3. I want 2 other names that could sit on the same mantle as your name in off-road racing. Not in off-road racing, in enduro racing.
Well, I don't feel comfortable giving you any names because I know of 5 to 10 guys that should be in that talk too. And you know, it's too hard to narrow that scope down.
You're not going to go there.
And yeah, I really, it doesn't hold any value to me.
Well, then I'm just going to say that you're the best guy to do it. I'll say it. You don't have to say it. I'll say you're the best guy to do it. You live in North Carolina. You find this property. You have this dream of training the next champion because it's going to keep you motivated. You're going to be able to take everything you've learned and all your passion, and you're going to put it into like-minded racers like yourself, and you're going to get satisfaction being a part of their program and having them rely on you. And you're going to be able, anybody that does something great, they want to be able to pass it along. That's satisfying. You realize that even though you could do this forever, you training the KTM next champion and training the team, KTM's going to be in this forever. Their success in off-road racing and enduro racing is huge. My point is that you were set for life doing this because for 20 more years, no matter how old you get, you have the knowledge, you have the skill, you have the reputation, and you have the support of a company like KTM that is going to just continue to pay you to do this. And that wasn't good enough for you. You were not happy with that security. You were not happy doing that. So you decide that you're going to end the relationship with this, amazing enduro off-road brand. Find a new brand, start a brand new relationship with them. All the guys that are here and all the bikes that are here and all the financial backing that's here at this place, that's basically keeping the lights on and keeping the track maintained and watered and paying for the equipment
and the diesel and who knows what else goes into keeping this place a top-notch facility. You're going to go and be the lone man that walks in here and takes advantage of this facility on your own and the only backing you have is that piece of paper that you signed. You're throwing all that away to invest in yourself, and this whole facility, this whole dream that you built is now on your shoulders, and you have to find a way to make this investment continue to pay off. And you're going to go back racing at 35 years old against guys that you just taught everything you know, and now you're going to have to try and beat them. Is that a fair assessment?
Sounds scary when you say it like that. Yeah.
What are you thinking?
When to eat. That's what it sounds like. It sounds familiar, huh?
I think you need that. I think you need that against all odds. You need that, don't you?
I think so. I think that's what's in my own little world, per se. I thrive in those conditions, in that environment. That's where I do my best work, is when it hurts, when it's painful. I just eat that shit up, you know? I remember this earlier this year. I blew my right knee out for the second time, or tore something else in it, playing basketball with the guys. It felt like it almost dislocated. Laid there in pain for 30, 40 seconds, kind of obviously wincing in pain and yelling some not so fun words, but I got up, walked it off, sat down for 2-3 minutes, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show these guys how fucking tough I am. I got back out there, finished the game of basketball, man. Beat their asses too.
A pickup basketball game? Come on.
It was just a pickup basketball game with my riders. I've got all the top riders that I was training for the KTM group.
You needed to prove to them who's the top dog on this property, huh?
I don't think it would be the same way I would try to show my kids how to be tough. You know, you're only as tough as you tell yourself you are. I didn't have to get up and play basketball. I did it to make a point. You know, you fall down, you get up. There ain't nothing broke. You try to keep going. Like, it wasn't the smart thing to do by any means. There's going to be people out there who think I'm psychotic for speaking in this way, but the more things that you do that hurt, the easier it is to do them when you have to do them. Just do it. Don't think about it. Stop thinking about it.
You wanted to show your guys that you don't quit, even if it's a pickup game of basketball that means nothing.
Yeah. You fall down. Obviously, if you break something, it's a different story, which I did kind of break something, but it's just I think it's believing is seeing, right? Once you see somebody do something, you're like, okay, so that wasn't so bad. I could probably do that too. But the easiest thing to do is quit. Say, oh, I'm hurt. On to the next one, right? I'll wait till next year. Next year comes around. Oh, I'm hurt. I'll wait till the next year. You never get shit accomplished, you know? You're always waiting. You know, there's people who make things happen, people who watch things happen. people that wonder what the hell just happened. So it's, yeah, I make shit happen.
Should that be the title of this? I make shit happen?
I don't know. It's a good catchphrase, though.
How does the body feel?
I've never been flexible a day in my life. So, this is something that I lack on. And I've been stretching more here lately, but it needs to become more of a habit and routine for myself. It's going to be imperative. And while we're at it, I'll show you how bad these 34-year-old knees are. See, most of the time you got to go to a doctor and they yank on them to see what ligaments are. You put it on this one right here first.
Which one?
My left one. So most of the time you go to the doctor and they check to see what's torn. They have to physically do it, but I can just flex my shin about 5-8 mil. And in this one, not as bad. So there's a little bit more structure in the right side, but the right side gives me more daily pain than the left. The left, I'm pretty solid on. But the right, I think I've got some meniscus, cartilage or something in the wrong spot, and it's pretty bothersome. But yeah, most people can't do anything with knees like that, so. Gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough.
Amen, Brian. Did you get all that? So that was just like, I'm super tight. Let's just get little details. Back in the gym.
Oh yeah. The dojo. As Alden would call it.
And you thought your gym days were over.
I live in the gym. I don't live in the gym. I'm not a gym rat by any means, but this is one thing I've kept up on even after riding. I'm probably more muscular now than when I was actually racing. I feel like my strength is.
So how do you ride a motorcycle with knees like that?
Don't think, just do. I find it when people have something in their head that an obstacle or hurdle that is in their way. I mean, I could get my knees fixed, but it would take months and months. You know, they both need fixed, obviously. That'd be basically 12 months, a full year of rehab. But am able to deal with it, they don't really affect me on my bike until I make a mistake. So when I do come back, well, I am back, I've done a lot to work on my riding and mindful of it. And like I said, when that does happen, I know what the pain feels like. So it's not a shock. It's not a, oh shit, I'm hurt again. It's like, oh yeah, I messed up. It's all a mindset on how you perceive it and what you think you should be feeling and what you are feeling. So I think a lot of people, they have an issue and then they are scared to use that part of their body or whatever it may be. And in return, it never gets stronger. It never gets strengthened. Like, I'm not scared to use my knees and do things that are uncomfortable because I know it's actually helping them, even though it hurts as I'm doing it. It's like I said in my interview, I live in pain in my right knee every day. It's my new normal. I just figure out how to deal with it.
What happened to your knee?
Dirt bikes. Dirt bikes happen.